tell people, sometimes I feel people like on, you're having a conversation with somebody, you're saying one thing, but it's like if they are, the autocorrect on your phone, like you say one thing, you type in one thing and the phone changes it into another word. I mean, I'm not saying duck, I'm not typing duck, but the phone just keeps changing. Hey, fivers! Welcome back to another episode of 5 Years to 40, the podcast and community where we are talking, thinking, and taking tremendous steps throughout our 30s so we can have a fascinating and a fabulous life. My name is Anisha. I'm your host. Welcome to the channel. And if you're new here, then let me just update you. We like to keep our conversations around 4 pillar topics. We talk about health, relationships, finances, and careers. And today we're going to be talking about our relationships. We're going to be talking about a word that people tend to shy away from. I'm not sure why, but we're facing it head on. We're talking about conflict. Why can't we just get along, guys? Listen, I know that traditionally, at least in our society, conflict is always looked at as something of trouble. Like people don't really want to disagree. And while I am not one to support discord, like I know there's some people who are just contentious. They will make an issue about everything. If you say it is purple, they will tell you it's lilac. There's just some people like that. It is what it is. Like you can't go on and on about it. But I also know that there's a tendency where people try to avoid conflict. And the truth is, conflict is healthy in a lot of ways, especially in your relationships, in terms of your career, your work relationships and whatnot. And if, as a matter of fact, any place, it is always good to face off on conflict. You really do not want to get into a place where people are always agreeing just to get along. Like they are buddies and friends, so just kind of agree with what you're doing, even if they may feel like it might be wrong, just so that they don't create any conflict. They just go along with it. As a matter of fact, the term for that is called groupthink. When people are so closely aligned that they start not being able to tell each other the truth or make decisions that are outside of what the clique agree. So the clique agree, we're gonna go down the road and do this. And look, I don't really want to do this, but hey, everybody's doing it, so I'll go along. One of the most known or well talked about fallout of groupthink was the launch of the NASA space shuttle in 1986 called the Challenger. I don't know if you would have heard of it, but when this rocket spaceship launched, within 70 something seconds of it being in the air, it exploded. And upon investigation, they found out that the main reason why the spaceship exploded was because of a tiny rubber called an O-ring. And the manufacturers of this O-ring said that they had spoken to the people who were responsible for the launch, and they told them that this rubber, it loses its elasticity when outside is cold. And that particular morning that the spaceship was launched, it was very cold. As a matter of fact, the sun had risen later than it normally did, and because of one of the rubber and because of lack of communication, and I guess the people who knew about it thought, well, they already have everything lined up in place for them. There's a lot of publicity going on. They already hire, whatever else. They already have spent how much millions of dollars, so they didn't want to delay. As a matter of fact, this researcher said that they let that spaceship go up 5 years before it really shut up. I'm staying long on this because at the end of the day, The United States lost millions of dollars and most importantly 7 lives because the people who were responsible didn't want to think outside of each other. They were just like, well, they didn't want to raise any conflict. They know that it might have been unsafe, but they were hoping that the sun rose and outside was warm and it would have gotten through. And it's an extreme example, but it is important because this is what happens when people go along just because everybody else is going along. I say all of that to come back and say the conflict is very healthy when you use it reasonably. And if you are finding that you are in a situation where there's a lot of conflict, or if you might have you might be involved in something or a group or organization or your organization where there's conflict, we're going to be talking about 3 ways you can get through it and get past it. Because while it's healthy, you don't want to have the situation where people are always arguing and disagree. So the first way you can help yourself and others to get through conflict is to know when to shut up and to know when to speak up. Shut up sounds harsh, but with big people with 5 years to 40, I could say that. Sometimes you just have to hush. Sometimes when things get chaotic or people are not understanding where you're coming from, it's okay to hush. If you find yourself speaking to somebody and they're just not getting what you're saying, then maybe they just don't have the capacity to understand what you're saying. I tell people, sometimes I feel people like you're having a conversation with somebody, you're saying one thing, but it's like if they are, the autocorrect on your phone, like you say one thing, you type in one thing and the phone changes it into another word. I mean, I'm not saying duck, I'm not typing duck. But the phone just keeps changing the meaning of what you're saying, and it's because this is what the phone is programmed to know. So you are trying to have this conversation with somebody and you're up here and you're trying to say, well, this is what I'm saying, but the person is here, they're programmed to know this, and you would just be wasting a whole lot of time and everybody else's time if other people are involved trying to communicate. Sometimes it's just better to hush, just leave it and let it go. And also if you find yourself in a situation where you are getting upset, silence and let it go. So you have to know when to shut up. You also need to know when to speak, because there's sometimes people would take a story, run with it, like Mr. Killer, run with it and just twist it to fit their own agendas, and you have to be able to defend yourself. Defend yourself in a very, I don't expect us at this age to be, back and out, but be able to state your piece and state it clearly. I would encourage you to speak your truth and to speak it clearly. So you have to know the difference. It's discernment, and I trust that we are at the age where even if you're not sure, you have a friend who you might be able to say, you think I should say something like this, or you think I should hush. So you have somebody to help you, to guide you, if you should be saying, you should be answering, if you should be shutting up, or if you should be speaking up. But knowing the difference can help you avoid so much conflict in your life. So that's the first way. The second way is to keep learning. You might find keep learning and conflict. But the truth is, if you are having, a conflicting situation with somebody, the more you know is the more opportunities you have to connect with them. So you and somebody might be falling out. You're always knocking heads over how to head up a spreadsheet, and like, I told this person to include this column because this column is needed for the calculations, and if you don't include the column, it's going to make everything out of place. Why don't you just justify this? And you're clashing. But if you keep learning and you know other things, like let's say you might be able to connect with them on, cactuses, or maybe the person likes to do gardening or whatnot. So something about how to grow a certain type of cactus. So when you all are talking, otherwise you might be able to connect on this thing, and later on the spreadsheet don't seem so much of a hassle because you and the person communicate better, you'll connect better, so you could actually have a better conversation with them. And the other reason why you should keep learning is because the more you know, the more you're able to contribute. Sometimes people really have conflicts and they fall into each other. They get defensive, they get, loud and aggressive because they feel insecure about the knowledge that they have. So you might come into a situation, you might be more aware or more, you might be know a little bit more about it, and the person might take your knowledge and get offended. For some reason, people get offended when they seem to feel like if you know more than them. And really and truly, if I am in a room where I am the smartest person, I don't want to be in the room. I want to leave that room because I am very growth oriented. I want to know that I'm growing. If I'm in a room, if I'm around a group of friends where I'm the smartest person there, I'm out. I want to be in a condition where I can grow and expand my thoughts and learn how to do things better. I mean, and this is not just academics. I have friends. I remember a very good friend of mine, and I could hear her audio share with me. And when we used to when she was down here, we used to hang out all the time. Obviously, she is the only person who can make a meal for like 8 people in 20 minutes. I've never seen something like this in my entire life, and to this point it still happened. But she would just, well, actually I know one lady who was able to do something close to that, but she would just whip stuff up. And I want to be around somebody like that because to this day I would make a meal and I think this is a racial meal. Under 20 minutes you have it covered, done, with vegetables. I mean, like all the food groups. It's crazy. But you want to be around people who help you to grow and stretch and expand. So you're able to contribute more when you keep learning, and you're able to be more flexible so that there's less conflict when you keep learning, right? So keep learning. And the third way is use empathy. And if you're familiar with the channel, you know empathy is a huge core value on this channel. I really do believe that if we understood how each other felt, or if we took the time to take the perspective of how somebody else is feeling about something, the world will definitely be a better place. That's for sure, for sure. So be empathetic as much as possible. Think about how the person might be feeling when you communicate whatever you have to communicate. How they might be feeling when you speak up. How they might be feeling when you shut up. Like, if you were in their position, how would that come across to you? Sometimes you might be able to hit it on the nose, sometimes not, but at least try empathy so you can understand the person better and you can be less combative if it comes to that, right? So those are the 3 quick tips I want to share with you in case there's a lot of conflict going on, or if there is a situation where you feel constricted or conflicted or whatnot. Remember that conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is actually a good thing. It helps you to promote new ideas. It helps people it combats groupthink, and we talked about that. Challenger space shuttle failed launch, and it really does help people to foster healthy competition and collaboration, because conflict shakes things up and not let you just flatline by doing the same thing over and over again. If you are interested in making sure that you get through conflict, remember to know the difference between when you speak up and when you shut up. Know that it's okay to keep learning so you're able to connect more with people and you're able to contribute more when there's a situation going on. And also remember to use empathy in all your engagements. I hope you found this episode useful. If you did, be sure to share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and get the word out on this channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep being good to yourself. Keep loving